All right, no problem. We're just checking our participants. Okay, we have a pretty good showing today. Fantastic, guys. Thank you all for showing up for this session. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
The intention of today's class really is for us to cover our final assignment, which is literature review, which is assignment 3 with 30%. Just a note in terms of the assignment as well. I wrote Gani, but I didn't get a confirmation as yet to ensure that the assignment is still due on the particular date, etc. But either way, you have an entire month to complete the assignment, which I think is more than enough time, right? What I've done yesterday, I would have sent you guys an email with Gani provided a guide for this assignment as well. So I sent you an email with that. Apart from that too, I also sent an email with 2 samples done by past student, one getting 92 and 188. So those are 2 really high marks. In addition to that as well, I sent the lecture notes as well. And also Gani had recorded a couple YouTube videos for those sessions, and I send the links for those as well. So you have a wealth of resources available to you for you to use. And if you need anything more as well, I'm more than happy to assist. And today's class really is where we go through the assignment in detail so that you'd have clarity on the different aspects. Good? All right. So before we get started in terms of our class, I usually have a word to share with you guys as well. So our word today is on, our word today is on abundance has no limit. And it's so easy for us sometimes to get jealous of other people's success. But today I'm encouraging you to not to do so. As grand as any achievement may be, is not the ultimate, because it really opens up new possibilities, even greater achievements. And that's why it makes no sense to be envious or resentful of the accomplishments of others. Those accomplishments each increase the number of opportunities available to you. So rejoice in the success of others, and you instill the power of that success within yourself. Be thankful for positive progress, and you will become part of that progress. The most successful people are those who encourage and enable others to succeed. Truly appreciate real value, and you'll find new ways to create more value. Abundance has no limit. A life that is richly lived creates much richness in the lives of those all around. Every achievement you see as a new beginning. Appreciate the richness that is, and you'll be creating even more. So, in terms of today's session, this is what we'll be covering. We look at an overview of the assignment. So we'll discuss the assignment at a high level. Then we'll get into what you have to give up. And what you have to give up will include a cover page. It will include the table of contents. There's a section 1 called Introduction, a section 2 called Main Research, section 3 called Main Research, Main Research Topic 1, and section 3 is Main Research Topic 2. Then you have your conclusion and your recommendations and your list of references. Just wanting to note, however, when you're doing your table of content, don't call like introduction, don't refer to it as section 1 introduction. Simply use 1 introduction. So leave out the word section, right? While it is used in many other writers have seen it used as well, based on past feedback on assignments, Gani don't like to see the word section 1. He just wants to see the 1 instead of the word section. So leave out the word section. Good. However, the assignment briefing sheet clearly says section 1, section 2, etc. Good. Okay. All right. Okay. So just an overview of the assignment. And for this assignment, you are required to undertake secondary research and write a literature review on a topic that you've already identified in the project proposal. Just to go over that part, a topic you have already identified in the project proposal. You've just submitted your project proposal yesterday, and one of the sections of that includes some background research work. And for your background research, you would have identified things that you'll be researching as well. This assignment now is simply to take that chapter or that section from your assignment to the proposal, and now you take that and you blow it up into a bigger assignment with 1,200 or 1,500 words. Are you all familiar with this section from assignment 2 called background research?
Yeah. Ravi want also, like for instance, for example, they said a topic, so like gamification. So let's say I use gamification. This whole, I'm writing 115 words write up on gamification research.
Not quite. What I want to do, gamification will be a subtopic. So if you just go back, you will see that you have main research topic 1, main research topic 2, gamification, and those things will be as subtopics. But what I'll do in today's section, I'll show you how to create a topic. You know, your project has like a title for your project. right? Your
Yeah.
topic is a subset of that title. So now, in terms of what Ghani is expecting, he wants you to research an area within the project, but within that area now, there'll be smaller offshoots of it. So in today's class, I'm going to show you how to, one, create that topic. So create that topic that you're going to talk about and break down that topic now into smaller subtopics. And those subtopics are what we are going to do the research on. Now, ideally, that is what you would have done in your background research, right? So when we did the background research, you would have had like a title and a title for the background research. And then that title now is broken up into smaller parts. Our gamification may have been one, learning analytics might be another, etc. So that is basically the smaller topics you'll be working on. Good. However, what I'm going to do as we go through, I will guide you in terms of defining the topic and the smaller topics linked or the offshoot from that. Good. This report should have no more than 1,500 words or so, right? Any other documents produced will be part of the appendix, and the word count is not in the appendix, is not important for the word count. Good. When is this assignment due? Based on current trends, the assignment is due on the 3rd of May at 6:59 p.m. and it's worth 30% of the assignment. Good. You're submitting a Word document to StudyNet when you're complete. Now, based on the last time this was offered, this is how the different parts are broken up. So section 1, which is the introduction, is worth 5%, 150 words. Section 2, which is your first research topic, worth 30%, 500 words. Section 3, which is your second research topic, 30%, another 500 words. Now, just a note on this thing here, right? It is possible that you can have more than 2 research topics. The rule says, and even Ghani's tutorial suggests no fewer than 2 research topics. If you have more than 2 research topics, the total word count is 1,000 words and the total marks is 60 marks. It will be allocated accordingly to those research topics. Good. So you can have more than 2 research topics. You can have 3, but just generally follow the total word count, roughly 1,000 words allocated and 60% of your marks are for those. Then we'll get into conclusion and recommendations. Conclusion, 10%, 150 words. Recommendation, 15%, 200 words, and then your list of references. Now, 10% are for your references, so it's important that you use StudyNet and put as much journals and peer review sources, etc., right, that you can find as well and cite them within the body of your essay. I would suggest no fewer than 20 references. It may sound a lot, it is a lot, but the fact is that you want to get your 10%, you know what you have to do. Good? All right. So as part of today's session, I will guide you through in terms of what goes in the introduction and how to create a title for your literature review. After that, we look at breaking down that now into the smaller topic areas. And then we will eventually evolve into topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, as the case may be, right? I'll discuss what goes in the conclusion versus what goes in the recommendation, because for some students, it's a little bit gray in terms of what is conclusion, what is recommendation sort of thing. And then we look at the reference part of it here, right? Now, what I want to get from you guys before I move further, if you could share with me, just from your perspective, why you think the literature review is important to the project. This is for you guys to discuss. So I'm trying to create some discussion on how do you see the literature review as helping the project?
Well, I don't want to use the word actually forcing you to understand, because this review or these research topics is based upon your objectives that you chose. No, the functionality, based upon the functionality. And then let's say gamification. And so then you're now going to research how to do gamification. And this sort of forces you, because you have to go in depth now and review all the peer review or peer documentation on gamification. And so it forces you to know, you have to go into it, you have to understand it, and then you have to comment on it. So that at the end result, after this, you should post single gamification in order to implement it. That's just what I guess.
Good. All right. So just a question then, and this is for others as well. Before this project, did you know a whole lot about gamification? Honestly speaking, did you know a whole lot, or you just probably heard the term but not too familiar with it?
I heard it too. I came across it a couple of times, but to say, I didn't have, much in-depth knowledge of it.
All right. Now, you have been encouraged as well to include like gamification, learning analytics and stuff in your project, right? Some of these terms might be, I'd say you may be a bit familiar with the terminology, but not fully clear on how you can incorporate it into your project. Agreed or disagree?
Agreed.
Wonderful. So you need to know how, therefore, to utilize or incorporate these into your project. And that is what literature review is here to help you. Literature review, the purpose of literature review is to research those topic areas in greater detail so that at the end of it, the outcome is that you now know how to implement, or you have a clearer path or idea on how you're going to implement these things within your project, right? So that's the role of that's the role of gamification. Please forgive me, my son is in the background there, so if you hear toilet flushing, it's not me, it's him. Right? Okay. All right. Okay, so that's purpose of literature review. So it's to illuminate the reader in terms of understanding the topic area, and then apart from that, allows you now to go and figure out how to implement it or incorporate it within your project area. Good. And that is why literature review is important, because literature review now helps you to really define to understand or come up with new requirements, as well as it further helps you to come up with design ideas for design and implementation as well. Good. All right. So let's move into our next set of slides now. Just going to minimize this list here as well. Naturally, you'll have to follow Harvard referencing, right? At this point, I'm going to take for granted that we are good with Harvard referencing, because this has been a fixture of both assignments 1 and assignment 2, right? If you need additional support with the Harvard referencing, I'm more than happy to assist as well. Now, this assignment is primarily on secondary research, so ethics approval ideally shouldn't be required. If, however, you are using any form of primary research where you're incorporating persons into your research, meaning that you are interviewing people, etc., then you need to ensure you get ethics approval. Otherwise, if you don't, you get ethics approval and you use primary research that involve human participants, then you could face disciplinary charges because it is an academic offense, right? So a word to the wise regarding.
Well, what I did in assignment 2, I actually remember before we were saying put primary research. I actually said that I was not doing primary research. My whole premise, I started off with the COVID-19 thing, and I used that in my introduction because of the COVID-19 social restrictions. Many universities, they're going online, everybody, that kind of thing. And then I actually made a statement, and I'm not doing primary research.
No problem. So, no, you can do primary research without physically meeting someone.
Yeah, I know. You could do probably do some kind of surveys and all that kind of thing.
Correct, yes. So, but the reality is that whether you do or you're not doing primary research, this particular assignment is only a subset of the whole thing. So it may not involve, ideally it's not meant to include primary research. It's more meant to be secondary research. Because if we go back to what the assignment brief says, you see at the start, it says you are required to undertake secondary research.
Right? So we still have to put our statement in then, or no? About primary research.
Is not required, because you only need to mention that mention about it if you are undertaking primary research. Then you'll need to show that you have ethics approval. But if you're not, there shouldn't be a need to mention it. Right? Okay. Okay.
Excuse a quick question, right? For referencing, I just want to make this clear. Now, in my assignment, I used 2 types of referencing. I sort of had Harvard Australia, and it have the regular Harvard. But which is the one that the university does more recommend?
Now, there are many versions of Harvard. So Harvard itself, like for example, we work with multiple awarding bodies, right? Like University of Bedfordshire, University of Hertfordshire. Both of them use Harvard, but there's a slight difference in the versions that they use. Even within the university, different schools within the university use different versions of Harvard. The version we have, I don't know the actual name of it, but I would have sent a tutorial on it, like with regard to how to cite, how to reference, etc. So I would suggest you follow that tutorial in terms of how to do your actual referencing, right? Would you have had a slide on the Harvard referencing that I would have sent? I could always resend it to you after the session as well, right? So that you could just refresh on it. And what I can do as well, if there are any questions on it, I can, when I review your work, I normally make corrections with your citation once I've picked it up. The work that you've submitted so far, some of you didn't have a lot of citation, but where there are citation errors, I would normally make the correction in the work when I'm sending you back your responses. Good? Okay. So one, you need to include the word count after each section. So please note. 2, your report clearly contains the 6 sections listed above. Now, even though this says 6 sections, please note that you could add another section for remember the study, areas of study, it could be more than 2, right? But minimally, it should contain those 6 at a minimum, right? The Harvard referencing is used consistently throughout the report. You adhere to the word count and you run a spell checker prior to the submission. Good? Now, we have the different marking scheme as well, but I will discuss each marking scheme just prior to doing this section, because the marking scheme is really going to help us as well in terms of guiding what we write as well, because we must ensure we satisfy the requirements for the marking scheme. So let's start with the cover slide. The cover slide is not included in the word count. It's 0%. Ideally, what goes in the cover slide? The cover slide, I'll recommend including the title of your literature review. An example title will be increasing user engagement and interaction in a learning management system. But we'll discuss more on the title after. So we will develop the title shortly, and then you could include that title in your literature review. You'll have the module, the assignment number and name, your name, and your student ID. Good? So those are things you'll have in your cover slide, or well, it should be a cover page as opposed to cover slide because it's a Word document. All right. An example would be, right? And this is just an example of a cover page. Then you have your table of contents, also not included in the word count, Word 0%, but it's important to have it. Microsoft Word has a table of content, can generate table of content. I recommend using Microsoft Word Generator. Most students don't use it, unfortunately, but I would strongly recommend it. Right, so for your table of contents, you have the introduction, main research, topic 1, topic 2, etc. Conclusion, recommendation, reference. Notice I didn't call it section 1, section 2, section 3. I just use numbers for them. This is what I was referring to. Ghani doesn't want you to use section 1 or section 2. Just leave it as 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? Okay. Now, what I want to do, using this here as our guide, let's take a look at the samples that we have. I would have sent you 2 samples, and you'd be able to see generally following the format of these here. So in terms of the sample, right? So this is one sample here, right? In this sample, you have section, well, 1, introduction, then research topics. So he had 3 research topic here, 2.1, 2.21, 2.3. And then there was a conclusion and recommendation. Although I would have really used, I would recommend a small change to that, because if you look at what I have here, I have 2 would have been research topic 1 and 3 would have been research topic 2. So where he has 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, generally I would have referred to that as 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, and 4, right? You can do it like this if you wish as well. They're all acceptable. Good. All right. So can you see the 3 main topics he's researching here? It's analysis of learning analytics, challenge in user experience, and how learning analytics can improve user experience. So based on that, look at the title of his research, right? Optimizing user experience using learning analytics. That's the title of his research, optimizing user experience using learning analytics, right? And if you look at that title and you break it down, look at the subtopics. So because you're using learning analytics to improve user experience. He looked at analysis of learning analytics, the challenge with user experience, and how learning analytics can help to improve the user experience. So you're seeing the linkage there. Our next report as well. So I have one from Marshall, one from Travis, right? Travis has, he didn't number his, however. So you have introduction, right? Which is this section 1, e-assessment overview as his first topic, types of e-assessment as his second, and then conclusion, recommendation, and his reference list. Good. All right. So those are generally how students may have interpreted this here. Any questions so far as we go along? All right, so let's start with section 1, introduction. 5%, 150 words. What goes in the introduction? So basically, what you should include is an introduction to the topic in question. So it's going to be 2 parts. First part, you introduce the topic in question, and the second part, you introduce the rest of the literature review, identifying the areas you're going to research, and these areas will be the heading of your next sections. So when I read section 1, I can see a clear link to what my research topic will be in section 2 and section 3, as the case may be, right? So just to picture it, in section 1, you are clearly identifying, right, what you're going to research in section 2 and in section 3 or section 4, as the case may be. All right, so those are the 2 parts to the introduction. Let's take a look at an example as well. Okay, so, and in terms of the marking scheme, let's look at, for the max mark, it says outstanding and clear introduction, which informs the reader on the research and the rest of the report. It links well with the rest of the report. So it must be linked to the rest of the report. When I see it, I can tell what you're going to research already from the introduction, and those become the headings for your next section, right? So let's take a look at these samples. Let's see if these were done. So when we look at it, you're seeing in this one here, he's going to do 3 things: analysis of learning analytics, challenge of user experience, and how learning analytics can improve. So I'm just going to get to annotate just a bit from Spotlight. So these are the 3 things that he's using. This is 1, 2, 3, right? So in our introduction, a good introduction, outstanding introduction should clearly indicate those. Now, I'm not saying these necessarily follow it, but you can see, can you see those 3 things here? You can see in his introduction, he clearly indicates the 3 areas that he's going to research. And this is what makes it now, you know, outstanding. Of course, it has to have more than just this, but it clearly indicates what you will be researching next. So it sets the tone and it connects well with the rest of the report. Just to take any questions so far you have regarding just that part in terms of the linkage with this here. We will still look at examples of how to incorporate the different aspects in your introduction. All right, so moving back to this slide, let's see if Travis also included it in his as well, right? So Travis, these are e-assessment overview and types of e-assessment. Let's go now to his section, introduction. And his introduction, he clearly identifies them as well, right? So when you're writing introduction, make sure you clearly indicate the areas that you will be focusing on next, which will be your next set of sections. So going back now to our slides. Trying to get back my slideshow. Anyway, we'll work back from here. Okay, so what should you include in your introduction? So my recommendation is consider using about 2 paragraphs to discuss. 1, the aim of the project, right? You already have the aim of your project from assignment 1 and assignment 2, right? Remember, the aim of your project is to design, develop, and evaluate a learning management system, pretty much. So that's the aim of your project. So you need to clearly indicate the aim of the project, right? Discuss the purpose of the literature review, right? So the purpose of the literature review is really to help you to inform the rest of the rest of your other chapters as well, right? And then we're going to look at the topic of your literature review. And then we will discuss the areas you'll be covering in your research. And these will be topics you'll be discussing in section 2 and 3, or 2, 3, 4 if you have more than 2 topics. Now, one thing I'd encourage you to do, which the other students did not include, for each area of research, briefly state what will be covered. And I think this last bullet point here is what was lacking from the other 2 samples. They just listed the heading, but they didn't tell you briefly what will be covered in each one, right? So let's reiterate, and this is what we'll be discussing in the next other slide. 1 is the aim of your project. 2 is the purpose of the literature review, the topic of your literature review, the areas that will be covered in your research, and for each area, describe briefly what is covered. So we are going to now cover these. For the aim of your project, I don't think I need to put more on the aim. I think by now you all fully understand what the aim of your project is. Could I get a yay on that or a nay?
Yes.
Good. All right. So I can move forward now from the aim of your project now to the purpose of your literature review. Now, you could do a Google search to find out the purpose of a literature review. You could get it on your document, and it's also included on the slide. But the purpose of a literature review is really to help you to better understand the problem domain and to search for information that's relevant to your project subject area and to access a collection of previously similar work carried out by other people, right? So I have a few bullet points as well as purpose of literature review. If you want, you could utilize these and create a paragraph, if you like, on the purpose of literature review, right? Make critical use of literature other material, find out what work was already carried out in relation to your project area, right? Provide readers with necessary background, justify your project, and as well as inform the design and implementation phases of your project. When you do literature review, it's to help you with the other phases. It's to inform the other phases as well. And that's the goal of literature review, which we had discussed at the beginning. So 1 is to help you to better understand the topic area. And by doing so, it will help you to figure out how to implement these within your project, which will also inform and guide your other phases, which is like requirements, design, implementation phases as well. Good. So from this here, you should be able to write the purpose of your literature review. Okay. Now, in terms of where to research, I want to make it abundantly clear. When you're researching, please avoid using just Google and just websites, because those are not strong in terms, they are not considered as peer review sources. So you're not going to get a lot of marks if you have a lot of items in your reference, but they're all just websites and stuff like that and books. You need to use as much peer reviewed sources. I would have illustrated to you in the previous assignment how to use StudyNet to be able to get your journals, articles, etc. So the recommendation is to use as much of those as you can. Good. All right. So these are some other recommendations for literature review, like scholar.google.co.uk, acm.org, computer.org, etc.
Ravi, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that, well, obviously with a lit review, we'd be quoting and we'd be looking at multiple references, right? How do we get our similarity index, seeing that it will be in the document itself? Because I'm looking at the assignment 2 that was submitted, and my similarity index, because of the references, is very high. How could that be avoided, or would it be, you know, an issue because it has to be in the document?
It has to be. So they will factor in those when they're marking it. So for example, the module leader has a level of discernment to be, because they will be able to see the Harvard report and it will highlight the bulk of those areas. What they are focusing on in terms of your similarity index. So once the similarity index is very high, they will take a look at the report. When they look at the report, they will look at within the area that they are more concerned with, which is not your reference section, but the body of the work. And they would look to see the level of similarity within the body of the work. A true way to determine your similarity index is really to do your check with only the body of the report and not the appendix and the reference section, right?
Okay, understood.
So minus cover page, minus table of contents and the body, and that will give you a true similarity report.
Ravi, again, for word count, all of our headings are included.
Yeah, now remember, word count is a loose guide. The whole idea is they're not going to sit down and count word for word. So ideally what you do is just a general guide. That's why with word count, they tell you plus or minus 10%. You should note as well with Gani that he's not a stickler for word count unless you really like double the word count, that kind of thing. The other thing as well is that when you put stuff in tables, tables are not included in the word count, right? So table information in tables are not included in the word count, which is why I would have recommended for many of you as well, when you were doing assignment 2, use tables, for example, to put all your functional requirements, put it in the table as well, because the tables are not included in the word count, and put it in the body where you can, right? So now, Shell, you were asking the question earlier about the topic of your literature review, right?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of your topic, I've given several examples of them. So what we're going to do, using the title of your report. So when you look at your title of the report, for many of you, your title would include some advanced features, whether it's gamification, whether it's learning analytics, whether it's user experience, etc. And what your topic of your literature review now is really taking that one of those topics and stretching it now to apply to a learning management system. So for example, the focus of or the topic of your literature review may be increasing user engagement and interaction in a learning management system. So this could be your goal of your literature review, how to increase user engagement and interaction in learning management system. Now, what we're going to do next, so first you come up with the topic, and then this topic now is going to be broken down now into smaller topics, which will be your research area 1, research area 2, etc. Another example will be e-learning platforms for adult learners, or using learning analytics to enhance the user experience in a learning management system, which is what one of the students had done. E-assessment techniques in learning management system, using gamification to encourage usage in learning management. Now, Shell, earlier on you had asked me about gamification, and I kind of suggested a bit of no, but what I'm trying to suggest is not simply just gamification. It will be really how to use gamification to encourage user participation or to improve increase course completion rate or something like that in a learning management system, because that really is the goal of gamification, to encourage participation, course completion rate, etc. Right?
Ravi, I'm looking at the first topic and the last topic. To me, the last topic is a subset of the first topic.
Not necessarily, because there are many different ways you could increase user engagement without necessarily gamification. Could be one way of using it. Okay. The other one is specific to gamification.
Okay.
The first one is broad. It says to increase user engagement and interaction. Gamification is only one way to do that. There are other ways to do so as well, right?
Understood.
So the first one is broader. The second one now is specific to gamification, right? So what I want you to do at this point, let's look at your project title now. What are the advanced areas you have used in yours, right? So I'm going to ask different individuals if hopefully you may remember one of them that you would use. So JC is Jassy, please forgive me. Right, Jassy, for yours, when you develop your learning management system in your aim, what are the advanced areas you had used? You recall?
It was gamification and learning analytics.
Right. So if you'd like, yours could be using gamification and learning analytics to encourage user participation in a learning management system or something like that. Or you could just use learning analytics alone or gamification alone. So therefore, topic 3 or topic 5, now these are just example topics here that I created. You could use your own topics, right? Okay. Is there anything wrong with using this topic? And the answer is no, there's nothing wrong if you choose to take a topic from here if you wish. Good?
Question, in terms of, let's say we'll have the same topic title, that would be a problem?
No, because remember, they're looking at it. What they're looking at is in terms of your similarity overall in your report. So okay. 2 of you could be researching gamification, but the fact is what you write maybe would have commonality, but it would not be the same, the phrases, etc. Right?
Okay.
Good. So it would not be a problem if you just simply choose to use one of these from here, if you wish, right? Soraya, what are the one? Or sorry, Janina, which ones you had used in yours?
I had used gamification and learning analytics.
All right, cool. So,
But my list was a little bit longer.
mhm.
So I don't know. I had like data analytics, Ess Assessment. So I'll probably use two of those.
Yeah, you can, right? So you could, and you have to link it into one sentence because your topic of your literature review should be a single sentence, right?
Okay.
Okay, and from that topic now, when you create that topic, you're going to basically break that out now into smaller subtopics. So your subtopic must be linked to this topic here. You follow, right? So for example, if you use, if you're using the last one, using gamification to encourage usage, I don't expect you to have that topic and then you're writing about maybe learning analytics, responsive design or something like that, right? Because those are not linked to the topic area. Whatever you write should be linked to your topic area. Soraya, which ones you had used?
I used to see learning analytics and
No problem. La Quinta?
Well, my own was gamification, assistive technology, and learning analytics.
Wonderful. So in your case, if you want, you could use using assistive technology to enhance the learning experience or participation for disabled persons or something like that, or persons with disabilities, right? Because that's the key area for yours if you wish to, right?
Yeah.
All right, and Shania?
Learning gamification and user experience.
Right, cool. So you could, and yours could be using gamification to improve the user experience in a learning management system or something, right? Okay, so, but generally, okay, so let's follow some stuff now. First of all, where are you getting your topic from? Your topic ideally should be chosen from one of the advanced areas listed in the title of your project, in the aim of your project, right? So there should be a clear link to the aim of your project. Get to one of those complex features. That's step one. And step two, now that you've chosen either one or two of them, you form a sentence called your topic sentence, and that will be the title of your report. Good? Now that you've identified this, what I would like, if each of you could take a couple of seconds and create, it doesn't matter if you plagiarize, meaning you use one of these wholesale, or you tailor it accordingly as well. But if you could write down for me, please, your topic area, if you don't mind. So I'm giving you 2 to 3 minutes for you to do that exercise. Write the topic area for your literature review for me. It
Ravi,
doesn't have to be a final one.
I don't know if it's my settings. I have full screen and I can't come out of full screen. I'm just saying.
Press escape.
Yeah, it's not. Don't worry about it. Use a next laptop. That's weird.
Or you could write it in pencil and something, you know. It's just because.
After. Okay, cool.
Yeah, just write it in a pencil on paper,
okay.
or something, right?
Are we on it to do the topic? Hello?
Sorry, Shirley, you had asked a question?
Yeah, it's just we're just doing the heading.
Yeah, just the heading only, right? I would like you to share your heading as well, right? If you don't mind,
Yeah.
I want to help to critique it as well, make suggestions, because
All right.
at the end of the session, once you have your topic and you're able to break it out into your subtopic, you pretty much have the bulk of what you need, right? But I'll be guiding you on what to include, you know, like when you're writing each thing, what to consider about writing about, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you ready?
Okay.
Yeah, let me see.
I said
Before that, I
increasing
want to be sure the
user
others are ready.
engagement, increasing user engagement and interaction through the use of gamification.
No problem. Good. Increasing user engagement and interaction via using gamification, right?
In an LM, I'll probably put in an LMS.
Right, correct. Yeah, gotcha. All right. So, Shal, anybody else ready for this?
Yeah, I think I'll go next.
Hey.
So I would like to give it a try. I went back over my topics and I realized I totally the wrong ones.
Right.
So, my one will be incorporating assistive learning and community and collaboration in gamification.
All right. Just go over that for me, please.
I'm still trying to figure it out, but
No
I just
problem.
wanna
just say it for me so I could just something.
Okay, using assistive technology along with community and collaboration in gamification.
All right, so you're not using, okay, so the idea is it that using assistive technology in gamification, or you're using
Yeah.
assistive technology to enhance?
Can I leave out the third one? I have community and collaboration, assistive learning, and gamification.
Right, so you don't need to put all three. So my take on it is it could be using gamification and assistive technology to enhance learning for persons with disabilities or something like that, because disabilities is your area, right? Because remember, the focus of your LMS is really for persons with disabilities, right? I think you clearly stated that in your aim.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if you could link that to persons with disabilities, because disabled learners will become part of your research, right? Persons with disabilities and assistive learning will be another area, as well as, well, I think just those two, using assistive technology, right? Just to support disabled learners in a learning management system, or persons with disabilities in a learning management system.
Okay, so thanks.
Using assistive technologies, or the correct whatever the correct term is. I think we said was assistive technologies, right? To enhance
Yeah.
to enhance usage among disabled learners in a learning management system. Right? So something along the line of assistive technology, right? Persons with disabilities and a learning management system. So the reason you're using assistive technology to enhance usage or participation or more usage, right? For disabled persons or persons with disabilities, right? In a learning management system. So we have to put those together now to form a proper sentence.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
No problem. Just a second. I'm just trying to go here using the system. All right. Someone else in the meantime? Soraya?
Yeah, I'll go. Incorporating gamification techniques to encourage participation and engagement of students in a learning management system.
My apologies, I didn't hear you too well, Soraya.
Incorporating gamification techniques to encourage participation and engagement of students in a learning management system.
Wonderful. All right, cool. All right, Mr. Ford.
To design, develop, and implement a learning management system with using learning analytics and gamification techniques to improve learning efficiency.
Right. Now that's the aim of your project. So what we have to do, we have to strip that down to get a title. So we're going to use, so in it, so that's the title, that is your title or the aim of your project, right? So from that aim, you said gamification, or which other one you have?
Learning analytics.
Right. So you could use something with gamification or learning analytics as well. So like, for example, like the third one out here, using learning analytics to enhance user experience in LMS, right? Or using gamification to encourage usage in LMS, right?
Yeah.
Or something along that line would have been useful.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Shania? Shania, you there by chance?
Sorry, you hear me now?
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Hold enhancing user experience via the use of learning analytics and gamification in a learning administrative system.
Wonderful. Great. All right. So you all have a general fair idea of the key terms, right? So whether it's gamification, learning analytics, etc. So notice the keywords there. So what we're going to do now that we have those, so Ford, you'll have to choose one, right? And at least for the rest of the session, because I want you to take that one. For what we're going to do next, we're going to take that topic and break it down now into smaller subtopics, either 2 or 3 smaller topics, which will become our next sections. Good. So each of you, you have something there that you're going to use. Ford, you decided which one you want to use?
Yeah, I'll use the learning analytics.
Right, using learning analytics to enhance the user experience, right? So you make a small note of it, because from that now, we are using that to determine what are the next steps that we will incorporate. Good?
Okay.
All right, cool. So following from there now, this, by the way, this topic that we have here, this topic is what goes on the cover page of your report. So when you go to your report now, when you go to your cover page, right, I expect that on the cover page, you will have this topic here. So this example, you're seeing are you seeing the topic here as your cover page? The topic is part of your cover page. You follow what I'm saying here, right? The topic must go on the cover page, not the aim of your project. Okay? The topic goes on the cover page. All right. Coming back now to this. So you have your topic. We're going to now take that topic now and break it up into smaller parts. So the areas for your research now is linked to the topic we just discussed in the previous slide, right? You should identify at least 2 areas. However, you could use more than 2 areas. So let's say, for example, your topic was e-learning platform for adult learners. Then that's the area of your topic. Then your area of your research now will be linked to that. So for example, you could break this down into 3 areas. So one is introduction to e-learning platforms. Are you seeing a link with e-learning platform and the topic? You're seeing topics, e-learning platform is part of the topic. Adult learners issues, adult learning issues and skills. You're seeing that as part of your topic. And this new development in adult learning, or it could be, so that third part was a recommendation from Ghani. So when Ghani came to CTS, he did a presentation and he took this topic, and these are the 3 he broke it into. My recommendation might be now, the third one might be how to incorporate now e-learning, right? Strategies for adult learners in the LMS. So the third one now is incorporating the e-learning strategies for adult learners. So if I was doing it, I would have had introduction to e-learning platforms, adult learning issues and skills, and the third one is how e-learning strategies could be used to improve adult learners, right?
We should have 3. Could we do 2, or
You
you
can
recommend?
do, but the thing is, it all depends on the flow, because at the end of it, you must be able to specify how you will incorporate it into the project.
Because
If I just do first and second, it doesn't tell me how I'm going to incorporate it into the project.
Because I was saying the amount of words we have for this introduction.
It
For the
could be
introduction, for the
done.
point, how much is 1,500 words?
But if you look at the student who got the highest, he did 3 topics.
Okay.
He had 92 marks and he did 3 topics.
Okay, good.
Right? So you have this here as one, right? Next, right? Using learning analytics to enhance the user experience. So the keyword here, learning analytics, enhancing user experience. Learning analytics, enhancing user experience. Those are the 2 key terms here, right? In the title. So one is introduction to learning analytics. One is challenges in user experience in an LMS. And the third one is how learning analytics can enhance the user experience. Are you following how I went about it? Notice what I'm doing, right? I'm taking apart that title, and the key terms in the title, one is learning analytics, which is this here. One is enhancing user experience, right? So user experience. So one is learning analytics, one is user experience. And what I'm trying to do at the end, I want to show how learning analytics can enhance. So that's my last topic, how learning analytics can enhance the experience. So my subtopic will be understanding learning analytics, understand the challenges with user experience. And then now that I have that, how could analytics now enhance the user experience? Good, so those are my area of research. Let's take another example. Assessment techniques in learning management system. One could be the importance of assessments in learning, or it could simply be assessment techniques, right? All right. And the other, so, well, this one has the importance of assessments in learning. And then the other part now is different assessment techniques, right? The different assessment technique. And if you want, you could have a third one now that specifies which assessment techniques they use in the learning management system, right? So you could use it as 2 or 3. Good? Now, what I'd like you to do, I would like for each of you now to take your topic area that you have there and come up with 2 or 3, right, subtopic areas. And again, we're going to discuss it further. So using the topic that you have, let's break it down now into 2 or 3 smaller topics for me, please. All right?
Well, Ravi, I have, okay, tell me when you're ready.
Well, I just want to be everyone to be ready so that we could all participate and critique together.
All right, cool.
Right? Sorry about that. Shall I?
That's all right. That's all right. That's fine.
No problem. It's good to see you ahead of the game, man. You guys ready? All right. Sorry. Shall, you ready to start?
Yeah. Right. My first
Start with the topic.
subtopic or point
Start
is
with the topic and then go to the subtopic, right?
right. The topic, the heading: increase user engagement and interaction through the use of gamification in an LMS. Oh, sorry, increasing user engagement and interaction through the use of gamification in an LMS. Topic 1, gamification as a learning tool. Topic 2, increasing user interaction using gamification. And topic 3, gamification algorithms for LMS.
All right. Okay. So just to go over, your topic is
Increasing user engagement and interaction through the use of gamification in a LMS.
right. So one should be user engagement and interaction. One should be about gamification technique, right?
Okay, so I should still put that one. Okay.
So maybe, yeah, so maybe one could be the challenges of user engagement in LMS, right? So you research into the challenges with user engagement interaction, right? And two, you can focus on gamification techniques, right? And then the third one is using gamification techniques to enhance the user experience in LMS.
Okay. Right. Gamification as a okay. Change that. Using gaming to enhance interaction. Right. User engagement. Okay.
So one will be the challenges of the user experience in LMS. One will be about the gamification techniques, introduction to gamification techniques. And then the third one is how gamification can be used to enhance user experience. Now, the main thing of the third point is really showing how gamification, how you're actually going to apply gamification in your project. Yeah? The purpose of that last point is really to show how it will be applied to your project. Good?
So I'll put in my last part will be applying gamification algorithms in an LMS.
No problem. Good. All right. Cool. So we see a clear link from your title. Your title had two key areas, and those became now the areas of your research. Good. All right.
Yeah.
Next, you guys would like to go next?
I think I'll go next.
Sure. Go right ahead, Soraya.
All right, so just repeat the topic, right?
Yes, please.
Incorporating gamification techniques to encourage participation and engagement of students in our LMS. And the areas of research, the first one I had introduction to gamification techniques. Second, challenges with user engagement in an LMS. And thirdly, using gamification to encourage user participation and engagement.
Excellent. Good. All right. Now, please note, this is just a guide following here. So you can make changes after as well, right? But for the session for this class is more than suitable, right? For in terms of something. So excellent choices so far, and you can work with those going forward when you're doing your research. Next. Ford.
Using learning analytics to enhance the user experience in a LMS. That's my topic.
Gotcha.
All right. Intro to learning analytics. The first one, user experience challenges in LMS and how the user experience can be improved by using learning analytics.
Fantastic. Creative. All right. Good. Next. Janina, La Quinta, Shania.
Hi.
Hi, Shania.
So my topic
What you
is using gamification and learning analytics to improve and enhance user experience in LMS.
do? Right.
My areas of research are introduction to gamification and learning analytics,
Mhm.
well, that'll be topic 2. User challenges associated with using LMS
Right.
and how gamification and learning analytics enhances the user experience.
Wonderful. Good. All right. Thank you. The only thing, now because gamification and learning analytics are two broad topics in itself, right?
Should
You
I
can
choose one
choose
of
one
them?
because at the end, yeah, because at the end, by the time you
Okay.
write about one, you know, you
That's
would.
what I was wondering, what I could have just done one.
Correct.
Should
Yes.
I adjust my topic and my areas of research?
Yes. So choose one of the two, right?
Okay.
All right. Next.
Okay, so
Okay.
oh,
Go ahead. Sorry.
okay.
No,
All
you
right.
go ahead.
So
Go ahead. Okay, I'll call you short. Quinta, you go ahead.
all right, so my topic will be using assistive technology to enhance usage among disabled learners in an LMS.
Excellent. Thank you. You came back really well with that one.
All right, so the areas of research. So the first one will be introduction to assistive technology. Second will be disabled learners, issues and skills.
Right.
And then the third one will be how assistive technology can enhance disabled learners' usage.
Excellent. The only recommendation is probably put the challenges with learners first, because and then you go to the assistive. The reason is that when you discuss the challenges with the learners, right? The assistive technologies you'll be talking about ideally should be indirectly speaking about those to overcome those challenges in itself, right? So for example, when you're looking at assistive technology, you look at assistive technology in terms of like for persons with partially blind, for hearing, etc. So instead of going into that first, look at the challenges that they have first. And in those challenges, you'll talk about persons with the different disabilities. And therefore, when you look at the assistive learning technology, it will now cover those areas. And then the last part is how to apply it itself. So how would you apply like assistive technology? So therefore for persons with partial blindness, whatever, what would you use? Like you will include a Zoom feature, wherever. For persons with or the hearing reader, the reading thing that you have that could read out, etc. So the third part is now applying it. So the only recommendation is switch topic 1 and 2, right?
Okay, so discuss the problem first, then the solution, and then incorporate the both.
Correct, yes. Right?
Okay.
Good. All right, Soraya? Sorry, Shania, my apologies.
Okay, so the topic is enhancing user experience via the use of learning analytics and gamification in ALS. The areas would be the effect of virtual achievements on student engagement, how learning analytics affect the performance in e-learning, and the effectiveness of gamification in the engagement of students.
All right, so you're gonna have to start over for me as well because you give me a mouthful there. I think it's quite good, but I just want to make sure it linked. So start over with the topic for me, please.
Sorry, enhancing user experience via the use of learning analytics and gamification in ALS.
All right, so we may have to switch it to just maybe 1 rather than 2, right? But we'll look at so enhancing user experience via learning analytics and gamification in LAS, right? Good. So your first subtopic was
The effect of virtual achievements on student engagement.
all right. So now in terms of so your first subtopic is really virtual
achievements there.
Achievement in student engagement. So I'm looking for student engagement in your first one. And does your topic have student engagement or it use user experience?
User experience.
Right. So if you want, you could probably switch improving or enhancing student engagement. Right. So because I want your keywords to link. I can see a clear link, right? So in your first topic, you said using virtual something with student engagement. So that means student engagement should become part of your topic, or you replace student engagement with user experience. I prefer student engagement because just to create a little twist, because a lot of persons have the user experience, right? So student engagement is probably a preferred twist state. So if that's the case, if you revise your topic sentence now, what will it be if you replace user experience with student engagement?
Enhancing student engagement via the use of learning analytics and gamification.
Good. So your first subtopic now deals with student engagement, right?
Yeah.
Good. And so ideally it should be challenges with student engagement, or in a virtual or in a learning LAS as you have it, right? Second one, what's the second one?
It's kind of similar to the first one, but it's effectiveness of gamification in the engagement of students.
Right. So, okay. Effectiveness of gamification, no problem. All right. And your third one?
How learning analytics affect the performance in e-learning.
All right. So now you have, what I would suggest, either use learning analytics or gamification rather than both, because you see,
Okay.
what each of your 3 point does, it more studies how something impacts it as opposed to tell me how it will be incorporated in your project, right? So ideally, your third point is really showing me how you will incorporate it into your project, right? Meaning the actual features you will use in your project. So so we know that one, we're looking at the challenges with students' engagement, right? In a virtual environment, right? Or in a learning administration system. So once we know what those challenges are, then we will look at how gamification can help to reduce those. So we talk about how gamification now can address those without telling me what you're going to incorporate in yours, but generally how gamification now addresses these things. And then the third one now is what aspects of gamification you will be using in your system to improve the student engagement, right? So that will be the third point. Yeah, are you okay with that?
Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you.
So I just want to make sure we're clear on it as well. So let's go over now. So you're starting with your topic sentence, right? The topic sentence would be, start over with your topic sentence using student engagement, but you're only using either gamification or all learning analytics, not both.
We'll be enhancing student engagement via the use of gamification in ALAS.
Wonderful. And your first point would be?
The effect of, well, I have to change this up a bit. Effect of virtual achievements on student engagement.
Right. Okay. And then the second one will be?
Effectiveness of gamification in the engagement of students.
And then your third one will be really how gamification can be used to enhance the student engagement in LAS, right?
One question, the third one, can I discuss the challenges of gamification?
Now, if you discuss the challenges, if you do that, the challenge that you'd have is at no point you are actually indicating how you will use it in your project. So what your research would have done is simply research issues, but not indicate how it will impact your project. Because the purpose of a literature review is to be able to tell you, look, how you're going to implement this in your project at the end, right? So and that would not have been included in the first, nor the second, or the third point if you change it, right? So that's why I'm recommending you should have your last point. Ideally, should look at how you're going to incorporate it into the project, how you're going to incorporate gamification to enhance the student engagement in LAS. And in doing that, you're going to discuss specifically, like you're going to, so like let's say at the end you decide I'm going to use reward, like badges, or I'm going to use star rating, or I'm going to give you points every time. Those are ways you're actually going to implement it in your system, and that is what we want from your last point. So it actually tells me how it impacting your project, because the whole purpose of literature review is to have an impact on the future direction your project takes, right? So that's why. So if you want, we can, if you're going to use challenges, it should be maybe part of point 1 or 2, right? Maybe point 2, right? And then the last point now is how you will implement gamification to improve the student experience in the LAS. If you'd like, Shania, after we can go through in more detail, right? So after this session, me and you could just meet after, and we can then go through now in detail to have a clearer part though. But I generally think you have a very good idea in terms of what it is you're doing. It's just now to ensure that we have the correct specifics, because once you don't achieve what the purpose of the literature review is, it will impact your overall grade, right?
Sure, no problem.
All right, cool. Okay, so for each of you now, you have your different areas there, right? Again, that could be polished and improved and enhanced as you go along, but you have something to work with as we move forward. Now that you have those areas now, let's put together now your introduction. So let's review again what your introduction should include. Your introduction should include, right? One, the aim of your project. Then you should discuss the purpose of the literature review, the topic of your literature review, right? And then discuss the areas that will be covered, which is what we talked about. And for each area, you will briefly discuss what will be covered when you look at those areas, right? So let's put it together now in an example. The aim of this project is to design, develop, implement, and evaluate a learning management system using learning analytics, gamification, as well as assessment techniques to enhance the learning experience. That is the aim, right? So that's bullet point one is the aim. So we've covered the aim. Now we're going to look at the role of literature review. Literature review plays a pivotal role in understanding the problem domain. This includes researching, discussing, analyzing, and evaluating a topic within the project, and it will be used to inform the next stage of the project, including the design and implementation. Note again, so this now looks at the purpose of your literature review. Now notice it says the role of the literature review is to inform the other stages, which is the design and implementation. And the only way it could inform the requirements analysis, the design, the implementation phases is if you know exactly how you're going to incorporate it into your project. If you just research the topic about the importance of gamification, right? But you don't say how you're going to use it, because gamification can be done in so many different ways. Similarly, learning analytics is a broad theory. What specific in learning analytics are you going to use? What reports or graphs or charts that you're going to include to help you? Then you have not really informed the other stages. So that is why at the end of your literature review, it's important that you specify how it will be incorporated into your project, right? And then the next we go on to what will be covered. The literature review includes accessing a collection of previously similar work carried out by other people, most of which were peer reviewed. And then we get now into the areas, right? So the topic of the literature review is assessment techniques in learning management system. And to better understand this topic, the following areas are research. So notice I have my 2 areas of research, and for each of the area, I discuss briefly what will be covered in each area. So the importance of assessment in learning would look at the role assessment plays in learning, and assessment technique would look at the various assessment techniques and the advantages and disadvantages and when they would be most applicable, right? Of course, I would recommend having another one, which is the assessment techniques that would be incorporated in to enhance the learning, right? So a third point to show where it is actually used in the project, right? How it will be implemented. So once you finish writing your literature review, I would like you to use like a checklist. 1, does it include the aim? Does it include the purpose of the literature review? Does it include the topic of your literature review? Does it further indicate the areas that will be covered? And these should be in bullet points so it's easy to find, right? So make sure put it in bullet points so it's easy to find. And for each area, briefly describe what will be covered. So you're seeing for each area, it briefly describe what will be covered. Good. All right, so that concludes now the section 1. Any question regarding section 1, what should be covered? Cool, so we're moving forward now, right? Okay, so frequently asked question on areas of research. The assignment brief has 2 areas of research. Should I only have 2 areas of research or can I have more? The answer is you can have more than 2 areas of research, 2 minimum, 4 maximum. Should each area of research be included in the table of contents, and the answer is yes. Each one should be included. If I have more than 2 areas of research, how much words should be allocated in the word count and how much marks allocated? Well, going back to what we said, the area of research covers 60% of your marks and 1,000 words in total. So if you had 4 areas of research, each would be worth 15% because 15 by 4 is 60, and each would be 250 words or so. Good? So those are just general questions asked based on it. So now that you have covered that now, your research topic 1, research topic 2, the content for those would be based on what you just described before. So you would have, so for in most cases, most of you have three topic areas. Good? So for each of those 3 topic areas, right, we're going to discuss now what you need to cover in each of them, right? Now, just a note, how you cover each of them is generally the same. What is covered is generally the guide for each one is the same thing. So just to follow now, for research topic 1, in this section, you will discuss and analyze the first area or topic of your research. The main topic of literature review that you have chosen will have at least 2 areas of discussion, and these will be the 2 main areas section. Of course, as we said, you can have more than 2. Good? Now, what does it suggest to the marking scheme? To get the highest mark, it says outstanding use of literature illuminating to the reader, right? Now, if you look at the lower set of marks, it says, like, not for 6 marks, it says, well, 7 marks says a wide range of peer-reviewed sources, which is why I keep reiterating, use as many journals, articles, etc., because that is crucial. How are they going to verify this? Because you will have the citations. I need to see lots of citations inside of your write-up, especially for topic 1 and topic 2. Topic 1 and topic 2 is more based on research. Topic 3 now is how you're going to implement it. So topic 1 and 2 would have more citations than the others, and these citations should be from as many peer-reviewed sources as possible. And I expect to see all of them listed in your reference section, a minimum of 20 in total. Look at number 6. It says very good use of literature, good list of sources, but not sufficient depth and breadth. Now, what do they mean by sufficient depth and breadth? Now, depth simply is, so the breadth is the number of peer-reviewed sources that you have, right? So the number of sources that you have determines those, and the depth in, the breadth is the number of areas you have, and the depth is the number of sources that you use, right? So you need to have as many sources and cover as broad area to include your breadth and depth. All right. So what is expected in a literature review? An excellent literature review is considered one that is illuminating to the reader. It provides a comprehensive review of the relevant literature, including key papers, and demonstrate excellent understanding. Therefore, it's important that you need to review the major papers in these areas. And of course, the more you research, the more you'll figure out who are the key players in each of these areas, right? What to include in your review? You should discuss and evaluate materials that are direct relevance to your project, right? It should be tightly focused on your project. Don't just discuss all over the place. There should be linkages to your project, right? And avoid padding, right? Try to, as much as possible, express ideas using your own words, but you must cite the relevant sources, right? Do not let your literature review merely represents a succession of quotations, because what we don't want to have is simply just a series of disjoint quotation. The more direct quotations you have, the higher your similarity index. Avoid direct quotations, instead paraphrase. When you paraphrase, you're changing at least 90% of the words are different, so it reduces your similarity index. Good, so it's important that you change the wording as much as possible, but you must still cite these items. You must cite them even when you paraphrase. A lot of students often think, well, I'm putting it in my own words, I don't need to cite. That's wrong. The idea comes from the source. Putting it in your own words is important because it shows that you have your analytical skills, right? And your critical thinking skills to be able to synthesize the information, express it in your own words, but yet still you must cite the source as much as possible, right? So by breadth, assume that 3 or more peer-reviewed sources have been cited for a bare pass. An excellent paper should consist of at least 20 different sources, right? So that's the breadth, and the depth is concerned with the way the sources inform the direction of your work. So breadth, sorry, is really in terms of the number of different sources you use, and the depth is how these sources influence the direction of your work. All right. Okay, so an excellent piece of work will have a high level of influence on your project. Good? Okay, make sure you use authoritative recognized source, must show evidence of research, discussion, analysis, and evaluation, summarize in your own words, only include block quotes where it's impossible to express it in your own words. Now, because this is writing is just 1,500 words, any number of words, the more words you direct quote you use, the higher your similarity index. So when you find that the word count in an essay is small, the more direct quote you use, your similarity percent increases drastically. So avoid using quotation and put in your own words. Be coherent and consistent, right? Your literature review should not read like a set of disjoint paragraphs. Everything should flow from one to the other. So what should you include when writing? You should discuss the relevance of the area, the current state of art in the area, the advantages where possible or disadvantages, website use it, how you would use it in your project, summarize briefly your findings where possible, discuss the next area of research, right? And cite as many sources as you can, right? With each of your three having at least 10 unique citations, right? So let's take an example of gamification in learning management system. So this is an example of what you may include. So for gamification, let's look at what is covered here, and then we'll briefly discuss it again. We start with discussing what gamification is. Gamification is a concept which uses components of games and non-game application, such as learning tools, aiming to increase engagement and motivation. So what we did was we did a citation on gamification, what it is. Now, games teach various subjects effectively and can positively influence learning by offering learner challenges, chance, and other gaming attributes, and you cite another source. This feature can benefit users that are extrinsically motivated by keeping them engaged. So we're discussing gamification, how it could benefit learners as well, right? Gamification can, however, potentially decrease intrinsic. So we're looking at negatives now, or disadvantages of gamification, which applies when learners value the task as opposed to it being viewed as an instrument to receive a reward. It can be introduced in the traditional setting by way of awarding students with badges, rewards, and point systems. So now I'm discussing how gamification can be used, right? It by introducing different ways. I'm not saying as yet what you are using in your project. I'm just saying ways it can be used, right? So gamification can be used through badges, rewards, point system, etc. However, it requires the physical attendance of students and the willingness of teachers to plan and implement. Ziegler and Cunningham explained that game mechanics can include point, badges, leaderboards, and levels. LMS such as Moodle use gamification features such as interactivity, unveiling of levels, scoreboards, and badges. I'm showing how gamification is used now in different systems, right? Okay, so allowing users to earn points, stars, virtual currency that can be used to purchase courses, right? Structures will be put in place to allow teachers to offer choices of activities so users can pursue their interests, help promote intrinsic motivation. Careful planning and consideration will also be made regarding the ease of use and design of application, as this will also affect the user's motivation. While gamification encourages and promotes user participation, it should be used in conjunction with assessment system to gauge the user's progress, right? So this is about gamification, all right? And then this is another one here on assessments in e-learning, right? So if you're doing assessment, this is another one. So I've covered gamification here. Now, what I have not specifically done in gamification yet, which will be your third point, is how you will incorporate gamification into your project, right? So this one here is really in terms of how gamification can enhance learning, right? And then later on, you have to, in your third bullet point, you'll have to discuss the actual implementation of gamification, or what aspects of gamification you would use in your learning management system. So this one is gamification. Similarly, you could use, for example, research the challenges of the challenges, whatever your topic is. Let's go back to the topic areas again. right? So introduction to learning analytics or introduction to gamification. So this, what I've covered here is the introduction to gamification. Similarly, you'll discuss the challenges in user experience, right? In a learning management system. So you'll do your research as well, discussing the different problems areas with user experience in learning management system. And then the third part is really bringing the two together. So I've covered one of the area, and the same way you covered one, you will use that to cover the other areas as well in terms of your research. Let's look at another one again. This one is assessments in e-learning. The type of assessments chosen was objective testing. So this really is specifying how you're incorporating the assessment techniques in learning. So the type of assessment chosen was objective tests because it allows for regular and automated testing, which reduces errors of consistency. Objective test facilitates automatic feedback in terms of scores and guidance to the learners. Objective tests can be used for diagnostic testing, which gives learners an awareness of the content to follow in the lesson, hence preparing the learner to receive the lesson content. Diagnostic tests can also determine if the learner is competent in this lesson and can skip the current lesson for the subsequent lesson. Self-assessment allows the learner to retake tests and learn from mistakes via feedback provided. Summative testing, which is used at the end of each lesson to inform the user if learning occurred when compared to diagnostic tests. Each lesson will have a pre-test, which serves as a diagnostic assessment, and a post-test, which serves as summative assessment. Once the user attains an 80% score in a pre-test, then the current lesson can be skipped. If not, the pre-test score will be compared to that of the post-test. If 60% is not attained, then in the post-test score, the user cannot move to the next. Now, what this particular one is to show how you will incorporate it in your project. So this one is showing how you will incorporate assessment techniques in your project, right? To enhance the learning experience, whatever. So this slide is really your third point, how you will incorporate it in your project. This previous one here where we did gamification, right? Oh, sorry, there's a slide one to e-assessment as well that I didn't go through. But this here, gamification, tells you about gamification. It doesn't tell you how to apply it to your project. So this will be a point one. And this example here is an example of how objective testing will be applied to your project, showing, you know, and the same thing you'll have to do with gamification. How will you specifically apply gamification to your project? Good. So you have samples of each of these. For research topic 2 is the same approach that you're using as well, right? Because the marking is the same. So the same teaching will go into these. So just a note as well, what we're going to do, we're going to look at two sample project, or I'll focus on one, Marshall's one. He's going to look at analysis of learning analytics. He's going to look at challenges in user experience. And then he look at how learning analytics can improve the user experience. So we will go through these here briefly so that you can actually see how this is being used by the student. So in his first one, he looks at analysis of learning analytics, right? And then after that, he goes into the challenges with user experience. And finally, he looks at how learning analytics can improve the user experience. Now, I'm trying to avoid the class being a pure reading class, right? But ideally, each of you have these here. So what I want you to do is, in terms of this here, the analysis of learning analytics, right? We're going to take a couple of minutes. Each of you will be reading it. So instead of me reading aloud, you will read it. And I'm going to just draw from a few points from it as well. And I'll ask just a couple of questions to each of you, and we can see where it's there. And I'm not testing you on it. I'm just asking you, like, what is covered. So when you look at it, we look at what are some of the things you would have discussed, right? So take a couple of minutes to read, please.
Daddy, what's on the bone?
Okay, guys, so what I'm going to do now, right? I'm going to just highlight areas and you could tell me, so what you're discussing now. What I'm trying to get from you is, when you look at it, we just get a high level understand what is being discussed. So for example, here he is saying what learning analytics is. Here he's discussing the benefits of learning analytics, right? And here he's discussing how learning analytics can enhance a learning management system, you know, like things like those at a high level, because those simply becomes the discussion points when you are writing yours, right? So basically, the start, traditionally, educators made predictions and recognized patterns of their students' academic behavior through observation in a classroom-based environment in order to implement any change or improvement to their learning environment. Now, this prediction recognized patterns to student behavior is all part of learning analytics. It's an introduction to it without specifying this is learning analytics, right? So today, so this is where we get now. Today, in e-learning environment, learning management systems with the learning analytic feature allow them the ability to make well-informed decisions by deep diving into the analysis of data to improve academic experience. This sentence here, right, is basically showing how learning analytics can be used in a learning management system, how it is beneficial, right? So it's basically, it's just a sentence on the benefits of learning analytics, and he discusses benefits at different points, right? Because it helps a learning management system by to be the ability to make well-informed decision by deep diving into analysis of data to improve the academic experience. So it's saying here that learning analytics can help a learning management system to improve the academic experience, right? Okay, so that's basically an advantage of learning analytics. Let's talk now about what is covered here. Gathering, measuring, and analyzing data on learners and their learning habits in learning platform for the purpose of understanding and improving the platform in which learning occurs is referred to as learning analytics. What is the purpose of this sentence here? From gathering to there, can anyone suggest what he's doing here? Anyone? Did I lose you guys?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So this part here, from gathering, measuring, and what until in which learning occurs. What is the purpose of this sentence here? From gathering to here. What?
So it's analyzing what what's feeling man.
Don't worry, guys. You all helping each other.
What another user would have done. So it's almost as though you're critiquing that secondary data about how they used, so the measures that were in place in using it into getting the platform to be a success.
All right. No, my take is a little different in terms of how
I think let's see, gathering, measuring, data analyzing habits. You're trying to understand the problem.
all right. How I see it as he's simply defining what data analytics is or learning analytics is. If you read it, I think it's simply defining what learning analytics is. You know, like when we did earlier, we discussed what gamification is. At no point did he really discuss what learning analytics is. So now he's introducing what learning analytics is. Read it again and see if you see it's really like a definition of what learning analytics is.
Yes.
Right. So he's saying learning analytics is really the gathering, measuring. So instead of saying learning analytics is defined as the gathering, measuring, he just reworded it. But what he's simply trying to do is define what learning analytics is, right? And so, but what I'm trying to do, the purpose, I want you to understand the purpose of this exercise. The purpose of this exercise is to help you to understand what you need to discuss. So one is defining learning analytics. He's discussing the benefits of learning analytics in general and in a learning management system, right? And if we go forward, he's supporting it. Now, the reason for more of these is he's trying to include his breadth and depth by citing as many people as possible, right? So he's showing different ways as well. Now, there are small errors in terms of it, right? Like his citation, for example, right? Could you identify an thing here? You see he has Chatty, et al. Over here, Chatty et al.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the error is in this citation?
Um,
I think you have the comma
I
by chatting.
okay, the point after et al.
No, the et al is an abbreviation, so it needs the point. But
Yeah. So
Chatty,
the
remove
second
the
comma,
comma from Chatty. There's no comma after Chatty.
Chatty. Oh,
It should
shucks.
be,
Well, I get, why do that in all my et al references?
no, the
You know.
comma goes, the comma, there's no comma after Chatty, so it should be Chatty et al dot comma.
Oh no.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So there are small errors in terms of things. Even up here where you have Zhang, comma, et al, error here again. It should be Zhang et al dot comma, right? Good. All right. So he discussed what a learning management system is. How over here, how learning analytics can help learning management system. He defines what a learning analytics is over here. Then continues. It is the educational application of web analytics engineered at profiling learners by analyzing information gathered on student usage. Here he's telling you how it works. So here he's describing how learning analytics works. It is the educational application of web analytics, right? Engineered at profiling learners by analyzing information gathered on student usage, participation, and interaction with the online content. So he's telling you how it works. So it's analyzing the information on usage, participation with the online content. He continues. Now there's an error in this other one here from Mazi and Milani 2004 highlights. Could you tell me what the error is in the how he uses it?
Yes, supposed to put the 2004 in brackets only and remove the comma by
Correct.
Milani.
Because if you ignore what is in the bracket, the sentence should make sense. So if you ignore Mazi and Milani in 2004 in bracket, because it's in bracket, the sentence will start highlight that the introduction, and that's not correct. It should really be Mazi and Milani, and then in bracket, the bracket starts 2004. Only the year should be in bracket here. Good? So Mazi and Milani, and then in bracket 2004, highlight that the introduction and popularity of with the introduction and popularity of LMS, the providers or institutions deal with increasingly large amount of interaction data, personal data, and academic information. So he's developing the whole learning analytics more because he talk about a collection of these, and he's basically delving more into learning analytics now, right? So tell me that it's a collection of large amount of data. The output of the results generated by learning analytics give insight into the effectiveness of the LMS programs and content that could allow amendments to be made in areas to improve student success and retention. There should be a comma, a space after the comma in the citation, right? It should be Ferguson, comma, space 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of this here, he's discussing learning analytics in more detail, right? So all of this is basically giving you more and more information about learning analytics in general. But what I like what he's doing, he's citing different sources each time rather than using the same source over and over. It enables educators to be more responsive, closing the gaps in the learners' need. So again, benefits of learning analytics. In addition to providing insights for managers of the LMS, learning analytics also highly beneficial for learners as it allows them to track their progress and personalize their learning. So first, he discussed learning analytics as it is beneficial to the educators. Now he's showing how learning analytics can also benefit the learners. So he looks at learning analytics in two parts: how it benefits the learners, the educators, and now how it benefits the learners. Right? In a sense, learning analytics allows vital pieces of data to be recorded every time learner accesses or uses the LMS, capturing interaction and progress with course content, examination scores, etc., to ultimately be assessed to better learning, the learning environment for learners, and improve the service being provided by the LMS. Good. So he closes off now to show that, in a sense, so he's summarizing. So note, please note at the end of every section, you're concluding a bit. So in essence, simply is saying in conclusion, so he's basically concluding that LMS can collect vital piece of information that could help to improve the service provided by LMS. Every one of your sections should include a bit of a conclusion, right? So even in this section on learning analytics, he concludes that LMS is important by doing such and such. Now, if you view Gani videos, Gani recommends at the end of every section, you have a conclusion. So this is his conclusion here. So by saying in essence is simply another word for saying in conclusion. Learning analytics allows vital pieces of data to be recorded, which will help ultimately better the learning environment for learners and improve service. Good? Okay, so from reading this now, let's discuss what you need to do. So if you're discussing learning analytics, you'll discuss what learning analytics is, right? You will discuss how learning analytics works, right? You will discuss the benefits of learning analytics. You will discuss any drawbacks if possible, right? And by the way, when discussing benefits, you discuss benefits to the learners as well as to the educators, right? For both the teachers as well as the students. And then you conclude now that it is beneficial. Good? Right. Now, if you're doing gamification, help me now to discuss whether you are or you're not. If gamification was your topic, tell me the things you will discuss now. What are the points you will discuss on? And I need some discussion from you guys to share with me things you will discuss on gamification. Come on, guys, speak if you don't mind. It's okay.
Well, you would probably give a definition, of course, about what gamification is.
So one, we discuss now you don't have to do it in the exact order, but you will discuss what gamification is. So that's one. Somebody else, come on, tag team.
We could probably list some of the techniques of how it can be incorporated in the LMS.
How it will be incorporated in LMS in general here, right? How it will be incorporated in yours will be in the third bullet point, right? But here you can discuss how gamification is used in LMS in general, right?
Yeah, so definitely list some techniques and stuff in general.
Wonderful. So we have two things. So define gamification. But before you do that, I would recommend discuss how gamification works, right? So you'll discuss how gamification works in general, like the purpose of gamification, right? Good. How it works. Next, any other benefits or advantages and disadvantages, right? Of gamification, if any, right? You could look at websites that use gamification as well, right? Good. So those are some of the things you will discuss there. Cool? All right. Let's go to the next section now, which is the challenges in user experience. All right. So again, we're going to do some reading, and I want you to come up with bullet points now that that discussing the broad headings, like, right? So from when you read it, come up with the broad headings that he's discussing here. All right, guys. So let's take a look at some of the things he discussed. Now, I really like his writing style because he didn't just start with the problem. He basically, like by saying the challenges in user experience, he started by talking about learning management system generally is seen as the answer in solving learning and performance issues. However, many of them neglect a component that hampers the implementation of a successful LMS, which is careful consideration of user experience. So basically, he introduces the challenge, the topic here, right here, right? So I like how he smoothly introduces the topic of the challenges with learning experience, right, with user experience. So in a LMS, good. So this first part here is simply an introduction in telling you that learning user experience is an important component of a learning management system, right? So that's basically what he talks about. So it's often a neglected area when people are developing a learning management system. So it's really an introduction to user experience in a learning management system, all right? Okay, here he continues to discuss the why it is important, right? Citation, remember, there are many, the problem he has, however, is his use of Harvard referencing, where he's putting a comma in the wrong place, or he's putting an open bracket when there should not be a bracket here, but the bracket should be after the, by the year, right? So we've discussed those before, but in this section, in this statement here, or this sentence, Vermeeren argues that user experience should be the central focus in the design and evaluation stages. So here he's bringing more credence to the importance of user experience, right? So what he's trying to do is basically create importance that user experience is important in an LMS. So here he's citing Vermeeren, argues that user experience should be the central focus in the design and evaluation stages of the LMS. Continuing now, so again, he introduces importance of user experience and basically shows why it is important, right, by citing people. Next, he discussed now what it is. User experience is simply how the user engages with the system. It is the user's perception resulting from the use of the services rendered. So here's a definition of user experience, right? So he defines what user experience is, right? Continuing now, users have needs and services should be effectively created to deliver. This is the reason why they access an application, but the challenge arises where dissatisfaction resides. So basically, again, continuing that users have needs and therefore the experience is important and it's a challenge, right? Or it's an area of dissatisfaction. So again, it's further showing the users are dissatisfied with the general interface or experience. Now, this section, now what is he doing here? Here he is showing aspects of user experience that creates problems, right? So one aspect of user experience is when overly complex design are used. So the area of user experience is when overly complex design and features are used. So he specified what is a problem, overly complex design and features, and how is this a problem? It creates confusion for learners, the time and effort wasted trying to access course material using difficult navigation tool leave users demotivated and become a hurdle in their learning and development. Now, please note, in everything, he's trying to tie it into learning management system in general, as opposed to any system as the case. He's trying as much as possible to tie everything to learning management system. So one problem in terms of user experience is overly complex design and features. Why is this a problem? Because it creates confusion for learners. The time and effort wasted trying to access course material makes it difficult to navigate. Using difficult navigation tools leave users demotivated and become a hurdle to their learning and development. So he's showing now the impact of it. The impact of overly complex design can become a hurdle in their learning and development. Next, another point. Some LMS also neglect effective structuring and delivery of course content or modules, not factoring in that each learner and their learning abilities are unique. So another problem with user experience, right? They neglect effective structuring and delivery of course, right? Okay, and because they don't factor the learning abilities or the unique learning abilities of students. Slow learners may be left behind, losing confidence in their ability and the learning system's capability. Therefore, a platform should have modules and content comprehensive enough to allow user retention and knowledge growth, but challenges arise when the course content is overly complex, causing bad performance in overall assessment. So again, because of this complexity, it could cause frustration and ultimately cause lack of user participation within the interface, right? Govindasamy highlights the importance of designing a system to maximize user experience, as it will provide an efficient and effective learning environment and promote longevity in usage. So again, now discuss the importance of good design. So we move from problems. So all of these from here are problem areas. So all of these are problem areas here. This could have been a new sentence because really now he's moving away from problem to solution oriented. Govindasamy highlights the importance of designing a system to maximize user experience, as it will provide an efficient and effective learning environment to promote longevity in usage. Elias conducted research which shows to maximize on the effectiveness and ability of the learning platform to deliver and cater to the needs of learners, the introduction of learning analytics could provide the answers. So he's suggesting learning analytics can also help to provide the answers to these. And learning analytics will analyze the data on users and their habits while accessing the learning platform to understand and close the gaps created by the challenges faced to improve the user experience. All right. So now he's linking this now to the last section, how learning analytics can be used to enhance the user experience. So he's linking his sections well. Good. All right. So in terms of this here, in concluding, you need to conclude by discussing ultimately that user experience is crucial in order to retain users. And then you briefly link it with your last section, whether it's gamification or learning analytics, how that could be used as well collectively to help the overall experience of the users. Good. And your last section now is really tying it together. So because he's used learning analytics and user experience, he's showing how learning analytics can improve the user experience. So what I want you to do when you read through this, we're going to identify all the different things he's using and the different ways learning analytics can improve the user experience. Good. So take a read and we'll discuss again shortly how learning analytics can improve the user experience. Sorry, guys. I just spent the last 3 minutes of talking, realizing I was on mute and I was teaching. My apologies. You guys are hearing me back now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me go over. I want to share my apologies about that. Yeah, I forgot I didn't unmute my mic. What I don't like about this here is that it is a bit too theoretical, meaning he didn't say specifically how he will apply it to his. I felt this last section should be specific to his project and how you will use it to improve experience in his project, right? It's a bit more descriptive in general, talking about learning analytics in general, as opposed to specific to his project, right? So my recommendation, however, is something more like this, where you specify, right? Here you specify which aspects of learning analytics you are using. Now, please note, whether it's learning analytics, whether it's gamification, whether it's assistive technology, whatever you are applying, you are using, you should use multi-prong approach, meaning don't just use one thing. So for example, in gamification, what can you just suggest what are some of the different gamification things you can use, right? I'll give you an example. Rewards is one. Could you call out a couple of them for me, please?
Badges.
Badges, rewards.
A point system to move to a higher level of the
Right, points, etc. Now, the thing is, you haven't fully done the research as yet, but the fact is there are many different approaches to apply gamification, right? What I'm getting at, whether it's gamification, whether it's learning analytics, whatever it is, there are many, many things you can do. What I want you to do here is specify the ones you are going to include, but you need to justify why you have chosen them. But don't include one only, use as many as you can. The reason is that no one alone will be able to cover everyone, because just as learners learn differently, so you need different learning styles for different users. The same thing with your learners here as well. No one gamification technique will be appreciated by all users and will be a motivation for all of them to improve your user experience. So you need a combination of features, right? So here in this section, I want you to tell me specifically the aspects of whether it's gamification, whether it's learning analytics, whether it's assistive techniques, however you're using. Be specific now about the ones you will incorporate in your project here, giving details, justify why you have chosen them. Don't just say, I'm using this and this and this only. Justify why you have chosen these, because there's a broad range. Are you following me in terms of what I'm asking you to do?
Yeah. The only thing for me, Ravi, I was letting the research material kind of dictate how I'm gonna bring that out.
That's correct. You're using your research to do that, because everything have to be cited as well, because you're going to, so you would have already discussed the different ones before in like research topic 1 or 2, depending. And here you're going to choose the ones you're using and justify them as well using your research. Is that what you're suggesting, or?
Basically, yeah, I see what happened for me. Depending on, first of all, what will dictate that if I look at a paper, and some paper are so complex, so technical, of a higher level, that it may take a broader base for me to really understand it. So I may look for another site or another source that is a little less complicated. And if, depending on my understanding of it, that would determine how I'm going to phrase or choose the areas I'm going to highlight in this review, based upon, okay, this particular, let's say it is badges. I may pull up a research source, but then I may be so complex, going on to a lot of different things, and then I may see another one that is not as complex or is a little simpler, and depending on how they phrase it, then I may use points from that, as you say, and I'll be referencing that directly into this. So for me now, it'll be kind of difficult now to highlight the actual areas that are gonna put.
But that's the purpose of this, you have to show how you're going to use it in yours. Because if you simply tell me a whole set of thing about gamification techniques, but you're not telling me which one you're going to use, then at the end, I don't know which one you're going to use. So what your research has simply been, is simply been proposing a series of theories, but it didn't tell me how it impacting your project, which ones you're actually going to use now, right? So the purpose of the research is to tell me which ones you're going to use, and therefore you need to. Now, I understand some of the papers may be difficult, but what I'm getting at, you, after your reading, you would have a clear idea which ones you would like to use, right? And therefore, so because you have a fair idea, all you need is any paper to support. So if you're going to use badges, simply find a paper that discusses badges or an advantage of badge. You don't need to read the whole paper, and all you need to do is find one advantage the person suggests for using badge, and you are citing that person. So you have to be, now my recommendation is, when you're using a citation, you need to know exactly what you're looking for, so you don't waste too much time reading an entire paper. So let's say, for example, you have seen in the different sites that you use, or you read articles that are not peer reviewed, and you find those articles are easier, right? And those articles tell you about badges, whatever, but the fact is that you know that they're not authoritative sources, etc. So, but what it does, what you're trying to find is, badge is an example of a gamification technique, and what is the advantage of badges, right? So you find a paper now that they simply discuss, so you're doing a search on a paper that discusses the advantage of badges or implementation of badges, and all you're doing is simply searching for one advantage of badge that the person mentioned, and just cite that person, and then mention this person suggests that badges advantages because of this, right? And you are implementing badge. And same thing for, like, if using a point system. So a point system, you find any source. So all you're doing is, you're not going to be reading these old articles. You're just simply looking for someone to support your opinions, right? And you find an author who supports the use of points, or who supports the use of whatever else you choose to use, like rankings or whatever it is. And all you do is find stuff to support these things here. And so in here, when you're discussing now the different areas you're implementing, these areas would have previously been discussed as areas used in other websites and the learning management system, right? And you would have discussed the theories surrounding these by citing other sources in previously. In this third section now, which is your third area, you are simply now selecting, well, these are the ones I'm going to use, but for each one, you justify why you chose this one, right? For thing, and you just cite someone who to support it. So it's not just, well, I'm going to use this, and this. It cannot be as simple as that. It has to be supported and justified a bit, right? So that is what you need to do. Without
That'll be one thing. So we don't have to actually go in to discuss the mechanics of how it is being implemented.
No, you're not getting into the coding as yet. Remember, this is research. The actual coding and all of that comes later on. All you're simply discussing is, so you don't need to describe, in order to do this, I need to get this and that and whatever, and to know this language and all of that. No. You are simply discussing how gamification. So like, for example, if gamification is your area, what aspects of gamification you will use. So badges, you don't need to tell me the coding for badges. You just need to tell me you're going to use badges, and the reason why I'm using badges is because,
This
XYZ.
so on site this person. Yeah.
Correct. And similarly, if you're going to use like ranking system, you will use ranking as well, and and support it again, right?
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than I thought, because I have to change my third point. I was saying I was putting applied gamification algorithms. I thought I would have to go on what I plan to use to find out what algorithm. Let's say, for instance, the algorithm behind badges, and describe that.
No, you don't need to get into that level of detail. It's simply, remember, you are just pre-planning, so you are not actually getting to the coding. When you get to the implementation and coding, that is where you'll be doing those. For now, you are simply looking at, there are so many ways gamification could be used. What are the specific ways you are going to use in your system, right? You got me?
Yes, okay. I have a parrot in the background making noise. So if you're hearing any noise, forgive me.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. But you know, actually, it gives us a nice outdoor feel as well, so it's no problem. Good. All right. Now, guys, I know we're over, but we just have 2 more sections to complete now. So once you've done those 3 sections, I want to summarize because these sections are the one with the most marks, right? So for these sections, I'm going back to here. If let's say, for example, you're discussing, my apologies, let me get back to here. You're discussing introduction to learning analytics. What do you discuss? You discuss what is learning analytics, why learning analytics is important to a learning management system. You will discuss the mechanics of learning analytics, right? How it works, kind of thing. You discuss the benefits of it, the advantages, and maybe the disadvantages, if any, in a learning management system. You could discuss other websites that use analytics and how they use it, or right, not the coding, but in terms of like what are some of the reports they use as well and why. And then you conclude now why learning analytics is important for your important, right? Okay, by basically reiterating the benefit. Next, challenges of user experience in learning management system. You will discuss what is user experience, right? You will discuss why user experience is a problem in learning management system, how it is a problem and what impact it is. So it's a problem because people are dropping out from the system, they're not completing courses, etc. What aspects of the application impacts the experience? So for example, like the complexity of the course, the way the layout of the information. So you discuss specific things about the that impacts the user experience, right? So give examples to cite, like, you know, like, and we use some of those ready from the sample from the student to show specific examples where where he discussed it being drawback state, right? Or how it impacts user experience. And then after those, now you conclude now on the importance of a good user experience and how it can improve and enhance their completion rate, etc. sort of thing. And then you tie it in before you go to the last part. You tie in briefly learning analytics to the user experience, and then you get into the last part now, how analytics. Tell me in the last part now, tell me what specific features of analytics are you incorporating into your system, and for each of those you need to justify. You could use a bullet point list and justify them as well, right? Let's use, for those of you who are using gamification, you'll have in your discussion to gamification, you will discuss what gamification is, right? Why gamification is important, how gamification works, websites that use gamification, right? And how they incorporate it as well. If there are any drawbacks to it, benefits, advantages, disadvantages to it as well. And then you do a conclusion to discuss now why gamification is so important to the learning management system, right? Do you have a fair idea what you're trying to do? Is simply these headings. Once you know these points, you're searching specifically on those points. Good?
Yes. Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, so my format would be a little different, right? I will be talking about the challenges first. So how do I start up with that?
Right. So what you will discuss in the challenges for the challenges for disabled learners. First of all, you discuss in terms of disabled. Describe what you mean by a disabled learner. You don't have to be first, but somewhere you need to define what you consider disabled, and you discuss the different disabilities that you're referring to. You discuss how these are not catered for in the traditional system, right? Because schools and stuff, many of them don't cater for these sort of learners, right? Okay. And therefore, based on these now, right? So those are that's the core of your discussion. What are the disabilities, right? And so describing briefly what you consider disabled learner to be, what are the different disabilities as well, right? The challenges they have with existing systems, and even if learning management system as well, some of the problems they face, even in learning management system, right? That doesn't cater for them as well. So the problems that they have in using learning management system as well. So those basically form the background, and then you conclude now with why it's with in terms of learning management system should cater for disabled persons as well, because they are underserved in terms of things. So, right? So that is your conclusion to the challenges part. The second part of yours now is, so that is using assistive technologies, right?
Yeah.
So when you're discussing assistive technology, you'll indicate what is assistive technology, right?
Yeah.
How it works, how assistive technology works, how assistive technology can help disabled users with disabilities, right? And websites that use assistive technologies, and give examples, sort of thing, and then conclude in terms of the assistive technologies is crucial for just assisting disabled learners, right, with being able to utilize a learning management system. And that's your section 2. In your section 3 now, you are going to tell me specifically what are the areas of assistive technology you are going to implement in your site. So for example, for persons with hearing, with hearing issue, they have you have the font. Well, there's no real problem with hearing, but
Yeah.
the persons with hearing, you could use, well, it's reading. They're reading and they can read the stuff anyway, so that's not an issue. But persons with visual problem, you have the option to zoom in, zoom out, and then you could also have like the sign language, whatever other option you have available for persons with. So if for each disability, you discuss the different assistive technique you're using to cater for them in your application.
Like screen readers.
Correct. Thank you very much. Right? So
What did you just say, Sheldon?
Screen readers.
Right. Okay.
So you're here in your last section, you're telling me specifically for what are the different assistive techniques you are using, and there are many different assistive techniques. Pull out the ones you are going to use in you plan to use in your system, not the ones you actually use, the one you plan to use, right?
Okay, that just to give an insight as to what it's capable of.
No, you would have discussed the capability in your section 2, which is assistive techniques. So you discuss all the capabilities, but there are so many different assistive techniques you can use. There might be about 10 of them, I'm just saying. And in section 3, you specify maybe the 4 or 5 different things you will use regarding assistive technology to help your disabled users. What are the specific ones you are going to use?
Okay.
Okay. Any other person with questions on theirs in terms of what they need to discuss? Anyone? All right, so now let's move now to the conclusion now. So for each of the 3, you would have had a small bit of concluding on the importance, right? So now we're going now to the conclusion and recommendation section. In the conclusion section, you will summarize the conclusions that you've already drawn in the above section while discussing and analyzing the topic, right? It should be clear and descriptive bullet points. So recommended is clear and descriptive bullet points, making them easy to read. Garni also recommends bullet points in his lecture notes. Note the marking scheme. It says, outstanding conclusion demonstrating high level of skills in drawing conclusion from analysis and discussion, right? So just a note, what I expect from you in this section. In this section, you are going to summarize everything you have concluded above. So in each section, you would have drawn conclusion on the importance of each of the areas, right? Take those conclusions now and put them here in the form of bullet points, right? But instead of restating the exact same thing in the exact same words, you're going to rephrase it, but saying the same thing, because you're not adding anything new to your conclusion, but you just the same conclusion you had before, you're putting it, but you're rewriting it in slightly different words, right? So here you're going to summarize everything you've concluded before, joining everything together, pondering and making decision. And you'll summarize the conclusion in the end with bullet points to make it easy to read. Avoid introducing new information. This should simply summarize information from each of your area. Let's look at an example, right? So suppose gamification and e-assessments were the areas discussed by the student, right? So the student discussed gamification, e-assessment. What you're doing here is you are concluding on the importance of gamification and e-assessment. What you're not doing, you're not telling me how you're going to implement it in your system. How you implement it is your recommendation. So the difference between conclusion and recommendation is reiterating how you're going to incorporate it into your project. Conclusion is telling me how important it is. Good? So that's the difference with your conclusion versus your recommendation. So in concluding now, take a look at what we have here. Gamification and assessments are essential, imperative, and influential as a cohesive unit in attracting users to the application. While they are separate features, they collectively work together to increase user engagement and motivation while assessing the user's performance in the module. In conclusion, gamification should holistically award the user for producing the correct solution and also display the students' progress as leaderboards and encourage and stimulate competitiveness while attracting engagement and motivation. Assessment, on the other hand, determines the extent to which students demonstrate the desired learning. Relying on only one method to provide information about the program will only reflect a part of the student's achievement. Therefore, a combination of assessment methods should be used. So these are just simply a conclusion in terms of the importance of the area, right? So if we go back to this student now, Marshall's work, and look at the conclusion drawn here, right? He says here, successfully incorporating and implementing learning analytics feature in the learning management system will allow learning activities, progress, and information to be exploited to enhance the user experience. Having learning analytics feature as part of the learning management system will allow the platform to improve users' planning, organization of the learning process, allow self-assessment, and deliver adaptive recommendation, and provide the user with a personalized outlook of their individual learning activities. Learning analytics strengthen in predicting the user's learning ability to generate feedback in order to completely improve the learning experience, right, through all avenues of the learning process. This attractive feature is one that can increase confidence in the ability and the ability of learning management system to help them achieve their goals. Now, he never indicated how he's going to implement it. What he discussed in the conclusion is simply the importance of each in a learning management system. So your conclusion is simply to basically pull back the same points you have above about the importance of these features in your system. However, Ghani recommends using bullet points as opposed to paragraph, right? So what you'll do, you'll have a, like this slide, you will have a paragraph at the top, and then you conclude now using bullet points. Good. So at the top, my introduction is the importance of the two working together, and then the conclusion now, I discuss gamification as important and assessments as being important because those are my two areas. All right. Now let's go to recommendation. And what your recommendation is, more points of recommendation. Recommendation is worth 15 points as opposed to conclusion, which is 10 points. But in your recommendation, what should you include? This section should include any recommendation that you will make for the latter stages of your project based on conclusions you have drawn. The conclusion and recommendation are those that give purpose to the whole literature review. If your literature review report does not include the conclusion and recommendation, there's no purpose, right? So basically, if you mark high marks for outstanding set of recommendation, sound, informative, helpful at professional level, right? For 7 marks, excellent, clear, and very helpful set of recommendations which relate excellently to the project stages, right? So these recommendations should drive the implementation in and design stages, or even your requirement stages later on, right? So let's take a look at what should be in the case. This is probably the most important section of your literature review. This is the reason and the purpose you have conducted your literature review in the first place. It gives purpose to everything. The literature review is meant to inform the later stages such as design implementation. After summarizing your thoughts, write down the recommendations here again in bullet points, being specific about each. Your recommendation should show how your research will influence your project. Your recommendation should show how your research will influence your project. Therefore, you are expected to summarize the things you would be implementing in your project based on the research done. So this part is crucial. You are expected to summarize the things you will be implementing in your project based on the research. This section, your recommendation, should draw closely to the third area of your research, because the third area of your research talks about what you're going to implement, right? So here, briefly now, so you've concluded, they've done the conclusion, and now the recommendation is these are the things you're going to include in your system. So for example, the goal of this project is to build a learning management system that can enhance the user experience while curbing some of the common challenges of existing LMS, where the failure rate of assessments are high and the non-completion rate is also high. Based on the literature review conducted, the following recommendations will be implemented in the LMS. 1, objective testing will be used to provide instant feedback to learners. Now, objective testing is one aspect of assessment. So it's specifically telling you that he's using objective testing. There are many different types of tests. He's specifically saying here, I'm using objective testing, right? So he's telling you what, so similarly, if you're using gamification, what aspect of gamification you're using. Each lesson will have, so this is repeated. Each lesson will have a pre-test which serves as a diagnostic assessment and a post-test which serves as a summative assessment. To skip the current lesson, a pre-test score of 80% must be obtained, while a post-test score of 60% or more is required to move to the next lesson. I'm specifically telling you that in my project, right, you will have a pre-test that you take at the start of the lesson, which will be a diagnostic assessment, and at the end of the lesson, you do a summative test, which is your post-test. Now, if you did your pre-test of the lesson and you scored 80% or more, it means you already know the content, right? And therefore, you could skip to the next lesson. Also, if your post-test score is 60% or more, you could move on. So it's telling you now how you could move on to the next stage. So it's being specific about how you will implement assessments in your project. Self-assessment allows the learner to retake tests and learn from mistakes via feedback provided. So basically, you're saying you will allow for self-assessment, right? And add any additional point you want to talk about the features you will be implementing. Are you following what I'm asking you here? I'm asking you to tell me specifically what are the features you're implementing in your project, right? So this here is tied in very closely to your third bullet point, which clearly states the features that you will be using. Are you following that?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Another one. Another recommendation. E-learning is a concept of making learning material accessible to all in its reach, made possible with the technological advancement of the internet age. Learning is no longer limited to the physical boundaries and time constraints. Hence, creating an application which is easy to use, offers a friendly environment, is accessible 24 hours, anywhere on any device, and has fun yet competitive factor when doing quizzes or assessment. Utilizing proper, tried and proven guiding principles and standards is most important. Based on the literature review, the following recommendations support the development of an e-learning application by incorporating user experience, responsiveness, and gamification. 1, it is recommended to 1, utilize user experience standard from Nielsen's heuristic, right, in this application by properly detailing them and answering pertinent questions for design. Ensure that gamification techniques are incorporated in the application by identifying when a student gets items correct and wrong, application of a leaderboard to see students score in comparison with others, and to level up to another unit when completed the last quiz in a course. So it's telling you specifically how it will be implemented. All right, there are a few grammaticals in these here, right, that I overlooked before. So this is how your recommendation will be done. Let's take a look at over here to see how Marshall did his recommendation, right? He said the objective of this project is to implement a learning management system that can enhance user experience while avoiding shortfalls experienced by traditional learning platforms, shifting the design from just being technology-centered, but instead pushing the development to being user-centered. Based on literature review, this can be accomplished by incorporating learning analytics in the LMS. Learning analytics tool will give a structured approach to personalizing and targeting improvement in the learning process. And below are the recommendations to be implemented. 1, real-time reporting to highlight the effectiveness of a course content, modules, etc. through provisions of report based on real-time data and tracking user activity and progress. Intervention and feedback. This mechanism will allow alerts to be sent to users who are underperforming or where a lack of course interaction is detected. Feedback dashboards. Learning analytics will allow users to monitor and keep track of their performance and learning activities. Right? Recommender capability. The learning analytics will use its databases to make suggestions for users for relevant learning resource or material, curriculum adjustment, will allow changes or improvements to be made to cater to learner needs. Tailored personalized learning will allow learning to be delivered to cater to the strengths of the individual. Quantitative assessment, quizzes, benchmark user understanding, allows reinforcement of key concept and give the ability to set learning goals and objectives. So he's telling you exactly how he's going to implement these now in his system. Good. And then from there, you move to your references. Now, what is wrong with his reference? It's not in alphabetic order. Your reference must be in alphabetic order. Good. So this should have started with your A's, B's, C's, etc. before you start with your V and your Z. Good. So that's an error in his, but he does have a lot of references. Can you see?
So
Quite a lot of references. So you should.
He lost a lot. He lost marks with just his references was the only thing.
I agree. I think referencing was where you see for citation, the citation was not properly done, and you also saw his reference section was not properly structured, and he would have lost. He lost 8 marks overall, and I think this is where he would have. I also felt in section 3 of his, he should have discussed more in terms of how it would be implemented, right, within the application here, right? Fitting. So guys, at this point now, so we go on to your conclusion. Sorry, your reference section. Okay, for your reference, I recommend at least 20 sources of reference. It should be professional, academic, websites in general, especially wiki tutorials and how-to sites must be avoided, right? This is not included in your word count. Outstanding references, no referencing mistake, you can get 8 to 10 marks. There should be no reason why you all don't score high marks in here. The other thing is if you're using learning analytics like he is, you could use the bulk of his references as well, right? Okay, so cool. By the way, these are just I know you had asked earlier, La Quinta. This is just example how you cite using the method we request, right? So like if the author is the subject of the sentence, you have Macedo, and in bracket you have the year, examines, etc., right? Or Chen et al. Dot Sheldon, this one is for you. Chen, not Chen, comma, Chen et al. Dot in bracket the year suggests that, etc. Right? So that's how you do the in-text ones as well. Some notes on reference, use as many as you can, at least 20, recommended 30. For each of your area of research, you should try to have at least 10 different sources cited, at least 10 sources cited for each one. Use only peer-reviewed sources if you can. Order your sources in alphabetic order by author. It should follow Harvard referencing guide, right? Additional resources are the videos Gani would have sent, which I included in the email to you guys. At this point, guys, do you feel that you're generally equipped now to handle your literature review?
Yeah, it's a lot easier than.
Yeah.
Right. I also recognize, like in the slide, I probably could have detailed some stuff that I talked about, maybe to make it concise, a bit more concise. So when you're doing, you may want to play back the video a little bit as well. All right, I'll send the recording by tomorrow because it usually takes a couple hours for the recording to convert the recording and then to upload. So allow by tomorrow, you should have the video for this session as well. And again, feel free as you develop, bounce off ideas. Please, what you should do, like just to recap now, the most important part of this here is like, if you're going to write the introduction, so what I strongly urge you, you develop your document, you put your cover page, you throw in your content in your cover page, for your table of content, right? You could throw in your table of content from this document, right? So you could just copy and paste your table of contents from here. However, so meaning over here, right? However, what I want you to do next, you have a section called introduction. So your heading is introduction. What I want you to do is paste these bullet points here. So take these bullet points and paste it into your documentation, right? And under each of these now, you write for each of these, and then after you remove these headings and then you put it together properly, change the order however you want to do it. But you start with this and ensure that each of these are addressed in your work, right? So that is your introduction. Next, when you're writing for your section now, you have your headings as well, right? So you have your various headings. So these will be headings. Under each heading, I want you to discuss what we had talked about. So let's say introduction to learning analytics. I want you to put bullet points like what is learning analytics, or define learning analytics, how learning analytics is beneficial to a learning management system. Give examples of websites that use it and how they use it, the learning analytics side, learning management system side that use it, etc. Discuss any drawbacks to it as well, right? And discuss, right? And then you have your conclusion as well of the importance of learning analytics. Good. And the same thing, challenges in user experience as well. What is user experience, right? Why is user experience a challenge in learning management system? What is the impact of these? Like people drop out, they discontinue courses, etc. Right? What are the specific things of the application that creates these challenges, right? Giving examples where you can, right? And then you conclude how user experience is crucial to be able to retain users and learning in a system, right? And then you have another sentence to basically link it now to either learning analytics or gamification, right? So you tie the two in, because your last section now is how learning analytics can enhance user experience. For the last section is you're going to talk about how learning analytics will be implemented in your system. So you need to have as many bullet points, how it will be implemented. I want you to justify each point, so state how it's going to be implemented, justify someone who supported it as well, right, for it. And once you have those bullet points, you know exactly what you're going to write about. So you feed that. For your conclusion is simply the conclusion from each of these sections here. You are concluding. Particularly these two sections, you take your conclusion, we discuss the importance of learning analytics to learning management system and the importance of a good user experience to learning management system, right? And then your summary now is pulling from this one, which basically is summarizing how you will implement it in your system. So you're pulling from here, right? Using bullet points, right? Without repeating the whole thing, you summarize it a bit more, indicating the aspects you're going to use. And then your last part is your references, and have 30 or more references. Well, I said 20, right? But 20 is really if you want to get like a 7 out of 10. 30 or more is recommended. Good? All right.
Yeah.
So that's your template structure. Happy writing, guys. All the best.
Right, thanks. Hey,
Yeah.
are we having a web scripting this evening?
Yes, as far as I know, Karen is having his classes. I think it's from 5 to 8, right?
Okay, good.
All right, guys, stay safe and take care, and I'll be in touch with you guys as you go along as well. All right? Have a
Thanks. Same to you.
everyone.
Bye, folks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.